All this week, we're looking back at TV's classic comedy programs of the 60s and 70s. This morning, it's Gilligan's Island. It's Bob Denver, Gilligan, Don Wells, Marianne, welcome. Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you,
Thank you, Katie. I should yell, Skipper!
Oh, little buddy.
Oh, little buddy.
That's right. It's so great to have you here. You know, Gilligan's Island, of course, was a staple around my household, and I remember the show very well. And yet most people, of course, are watching it today with reruns because it only ran for 3 seasons. Why only 3 seasons, Bob?
We got canceled on the pickup for the 4th season. Gunsmoke had to come back on the air. It turned out it was Mr. Paley who was the president of CBS. It was his wife's favorite show, and also his. And they had canceled it. And so they panicked when they found out that they didn't have it on the schedule. So they looked down and they saw Gilligan's Island a half hour behind that empty, and they went, whoosh.
And I think we were in the top 20 at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, nobody would ever cancel a show in the top 20.
Right. I can't understand that. That seems so ridiculous.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Network decisions.
Business.
The critics never were really wild about this show, were
To
they?
say the least.
I mean, they basically lambasted it. What did they think?
Piece of junk. Never be more than 6 weeks. Never last more than 6 weeks
Yeah.
was the first prophecy.
One of the worst shows ever on television.
About
Of course, they're kind of
funny.
eating their words now a little bit.
Yeah,
you know,
now tell me why they started to eat their words quite quickly, didn't they?
Yeah, it got in the top 10 pretty fast, and it was really fun because we didn't care. We knew the show wasn't going to get critical raves, not doing that kind of comedy. You know, I mean, silly slapstick.
Oh, little buddy, you don't know how happy you're going to make me feel when I see you eating this pie. Oh, no, Thanks a lot, Gilligan.
What was the appeal, do you think, Don? If not, if the critics didn't like it, why did people enjoy the show so
I think
much?
there's several reasons. I think it's timeless, for one thing. I mean, I think you have no idea when it was shot. Also, I think everybody has a fantasy of wanting to be marooned. And with my experiences last 30 years with listening to fans, it was their family.
Are you really like Marianne?
Yes.
You're that wholesome,
Oh,
aren't
of
you?
course, aren't you?
Yeah. You know, I have to say, I related to Marianne much more than Ginger. I think women are usually divided in 2 categories. There are Gingers, and then there are Mariannes, and I'm a member of your club. Did you have fun playing Gilligan?
Oh, excellent, yeah.
Why?
It was the most fun. Well, I happened to hit Alan Hale, a 260-pound man who could do physical comedy just perfectly. I couldn't hurt him, you're right, and he was very careful with me.
Good night, Gilligan.
He was like a big teddy bear,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
Oh, the kindest human
Always tried to
being.
land on him, you know.
If you could.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about this, Don, because I felt really personally upset by the fact that your name was not mentioned in the theme song. For a number of years, they'd say, Gilligan, the skipper to the millionaire and his wife, the movie star, and the rest. I was
Right.
like, and the rest?
And the rest.
What's with and the rest? Doesn't the professor, doesn't Marianne
Count?
don't they deserve a mention? And then finally, they said
How
the
did we get there?
professor and Marianne. Did you demand that?
No, and I don't know how it came back. The professor and I still send each other little notes saying, love the rest. We do that all the time.
That's funny.
Well, they said that we finished the first year, and I noticed everybody said to me, all the fans said, how can you leave him back there, you know, and all that. And I went to CBS and I said, you know, you got to bring him up front with the rest of us. And they said, no, they have contracts. That's, you know, read end credits. And I said, well, I have a contract that reads first billing. And they said, yes. And I said, that means I can go anywhere. And they said, yes. And I said, I want to be in the back with the rest.
Oh, did you do that?
And they went, what? I said, yeah, I can say, you know, Gilligan at the last, you know, since I can choose my billing. And they went, oh, we'll move him up.
I didn't
So,
know.
yeah. Well, why
thank
not? You know, I mean, it was
That is
silly.
so nice.
Thank you for asking that
It was so
question.
embarrassing to have them as the rest.
Now, I'm going to ask some questions that viewers all across the country and, in fact, all across the world want to know the answer to.
Uh-oh.
First of all, why, if the SS Minnow was only out for a 3-hour cruise, did the Howells have so many suitcases?
Number 1 question, isn't it?
Got me.
Sherwood Schwartz says, our creator, Sherwood Schwartz, says that he felt that the Howells would have anything they wanted with them at all times. So even if they were going out for an hour, they would take everything they wanted.
Why didn't any of the visitors ever take any of the castaways with them when they left?
End of the series. You know, it's all over.
Now, what have you all been up to since Gilligan's Island? I know that you've both been busy doing different things. Marianne, you've been doing some regional theater, right?
Yes, I do an awful lot of stage. It's my favorite thing. I love it more than anything. I've written a cookbook, Marianne's Gilligan's Island Cookbook.
Bob, what about you? You've been sort of enjoying life in West Virginia. What made you leave Hollywood and settle in the hills of West Virginia.
Well, I looked around and was so gorgeous and the people were so nice, and I just decided, I'd get a house up in one of those mountains there, and so I did, and it's just been great.
You've written a book called Maynard, Gilligan, and Me. You happen to have a copy
Yeah,
right
I happen
here.
to have a copy here.
Quelle surprise.
Yeah.
Great.
So, yeah, that's kind of fun. That answers all the questions most people ask about this show.
Yes. Let's just propose a toast. Here's to Don and Bob.
Yes.
Many
And
more
Katie.
happy memories of Gilligan's
Thank
Island.
you.
I know you gave me a
Another
lot of
30
enjoyment.
years.
Thanks
You
again.
give me a lot of happy mornings, too. I
Oh,
watch
well,
you every day.
thanks. Anyway, we'll be back in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.